Hi, my name is Chris. Welcome to my bunker, or cellar. I spent too long in Switzerland, so tend to call it a bunker, but I guess in England here we call it a cellar. Anyway, we've come down here today for a bit of a random vid, and might split this up across a few videos, just to give you a bit of an insight into the cellar. The cellar I'm increasingly proud of. It's split in two, so we're in one half, and we'll maybe take another look at the other room in a minute. But as you can see, if my esteemed photographer can maybe pan around a little bit, you know, the cellar is burgeoning. There isn't a whole lot of space. And in fact, across the two rooms at the minute, we've got space for about 60 bottles. And down here, between the two rooms, and then also including some up in the wine fridge, i.e. here at home, I've got about 650 bottles of wine. En primeur, to come at some point in the future, is another 90 or so. So topping out at around the 750 mark. And, you know, I don't know if that's a good number or not. Certainly a very lucky number, and it's years of hard work that has got me there. But I also know people watching this video will have 3, 4, 5 times as many bottles of wine, and who knows what's right. It's just great fun drinking wine, but you know, as I'll often chat to some of the people who watch the channel, I get, and I think they get, just as much fun in curating their wine collection and in making purchases and doing the research that leads up to that as they do from drinking the wine itself. Anyway, moving on a little bit, I'll just show you around these racks for a second. So here we have the Rhone, very dominated by red wine. And in fact, just come back to me for a minute there. Here's my, I don't know if it'll come in the vid, but here's my personal Excel spreadsheet of my wine. I'm very happy to share this with somebody. It's very basic. And I was having a look at this and talking about the red Rhone. 70% of my cellar is red, 30% is white. That surprised me because I'm very much a predominant red wine drinker. I'm lucky because my wife likes red wine as well, which I know is not often the case. Both couples, both partners liking the red. And so I was surprised I had so many whites, and we'll have a look at why that is in due course. But back to the Rhone, you know, we can see we've got, you know, sort of 15 odd spaces there, but it's a pretty full 90 bottle rack. And we'll dive into that maybe at another point in the video. Moving next door, I've decided to split all my sort of European whites, and this is partly why I do have so many whites. I've split them into Alsace, or French, on this side, and then just over behind the video here, down here, is German. Now, I'm immediately correcting myself because I've also got my Austrians in the Alsace rack. And that's really just a function of trying to create a bit of a categorization, but also how many spaces have I got versus each type of wine. So this is mostly Alsace here. And you know, just to pull that out, that'd be a good example of an Austrian Gruner Veltliner. But predominantly French east side of France, white wines. Turning to this lovely 90 bottle rack here. This used to be all my New World, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia and USA and South America, but thankfully that's grown, and so we've had to rehouse the American, South and North American stuff next door. But in here we've got probably half of that down to around about there is all South African, the top half. And then the remainder really, in fact, is pretty much Australian. And we've got some fantastic options in there. And again, we'll go through that in more detail sometime. Just over here on this side, this has been one of the biggest kind of curations of the last year. And that's been to develop a really full sparkling wine collection. Not something I ever really thought about, let's say even 2 years ago. But I think with the vintage champagnes being released and the birth years of my kids, it really got me going on let's try and build up some wines to be able to celebrate with them on their 18th and their 21st. So just here on the top, we've got Boiselle 2012, my daughter's birth year, and your esteemed photographer or videographer today was born in 2009, and there's something he'll be trying in probably 7 or 8 years' time. And again, you know, we can talk through that a bit later. Coming around here, we've already had a quick look at this. This is the German collection, very Riesling dominated, and for some reason the bottles get very dusty after not very long. That's probably 2015. It's probably been in the cellar 3 or 4 years and it's already a bit of a mess, but a nice full rack of German, and I'm very partial to that. And then moving here next door, we've got the Spanish, so mostly Rioja, but you can see there an Albarino, 2019 Albarino. That was the subject of another post, which I hope you can look back on if you didn't get to catch that video. And one of my very favorites, which is Continuo, very famous producer. This is the 2010 Reserva, and it's the 930, so it's actually specifically blended by Continuo for the Wine Society. You can get that each year, and it's a cracking wine at great value. And then a bit of a paltry effort here, just stepping over the magnums. Maybe we'll just have a quick look at those. Again, birth years. So actually there's wedding year 2006, and then Avi's 2012. So that's going to be quite a party when she hits 18. Bit of a paltry effort here in the corner of the room, and that's our Burgundy. Burgundy is something I've just neglected and really need to build up, but gosh, at what cost? It's so expensive these days. Here's an interesting bottle on the top. When we bought the house, 3 of these were left in this cellar. They were the only 3 bottles in the cellar. 2000 Pliny Montrachet. I've tried the other 2, and you know, even a couple of years ago, it was very much kind of on its last legs, but an interesting taste. And here we are next door in the right-hand side of the cellar. This used to be the kind of the full area of the cellar, but I've moved a lot of the stuff to next door. This is probably the most impressive part of the collection. 2 90-bottle racks side by side, and this is effectively, if you'll ignore a few port half bottles on the top, which again, by the way, would be curated for special years. Wedding anniversary again there, and we've got 2012 here for Avi's birthday, and we've also got 2007 and 2009 up in the wine fridge, which were vintage years in port, and that's the birth years of my 2 sons. So ignoring those on top, we've got a cracking collection of Bordeaux reaching as far back as here. You can see 2000. That's, I think, the oldest Bordeaux in the collection, and going right through, still in bond off-site, would be the 2018s or 19s. But down here, for example, I think probably the latest we got in the cellar is 2016. Now, quite Bordeaux heavy there, and in fact, if I look at my French wines, let's just go back. I'll just do that as I'm talking and go back, and we'll see what proportion of the cellar is French or Old World. But just moving on for a second here, this has been another, it's a bit like the champagne or sparkling rack. This has been a labour of love in the last 6 months to develop a full 56 rack, plus 6 down here, plus some off-site of Italian wine. And that's mainly Barolo, but some Chianti Classico, and then most recently, absolutely delighted to welcome back an old favourite, Banfi, to the cellar, and that of course is Brunello di Montalcino. Let's just have a quick look then at the proportions in the cellar. Now, amazingly, you know, I've just shown you the Italian. I'm just about to move on to the North and South American rack there. We've looked at German and so on next door, but actually, out of 750 bottles that I own, almost 400 of them are French. Now that's kind of interesting and probably worth talking about, but it is very French heavy, as you can see. Thankfully spread across different parts of France, but nonetheless, pretty staggering statistic. More than half my wine is from one country. Finally, we'll just have a quick look at the US rack, and in fact, it's got some South American stuff in here. We've got the Gandolini, an old favorite from Chile. And this is a new one I haven't tried actually, Coils, also from Chile. Looking forward to trying that. And at 2011, that's probably drinking well. Probably the most expensive wine I have in the cellar would be the Ridge Montebello 2011. We've got 4 of those left. That's a 5 out of 5 wine when we've opened it so far. And then the rest is, I think I've actually got the New Zealand down there. So you've got your Felton Road and a Cumio River Pinot. And then the rest in here is a mixture of Argentinian Malbec and Cab Sauv, and then a good lot of US Pinot. And if you've been watching any of my latest videos, you will well understand that I'm enjoying my US Pinot very much. And in fact, I've just helped myself to a couple of new ones. I had such joy with the Elk Cove from Oregon that I've actually invested a couple of bottles of this Resonance from a different part, not Willamette Valley, but Wamhill, Carlton, another of the famous regions around Portland in Oregon, and I'll look forward to trying that again as well. And there's a cheeky Atarangi on top as well from the Martinborough region of New Zealand. So that's the cellar. We've got our Americans together, our Italians together, the Bordeaux all together, the Rhone together, the Riesling from Germany together, our sparkling, our South African and Australian sitting together, blood brothers beside each other, and then the Alsace, and then the Rioja and Spain, and then Burgundy. And that's the way I've chosen to split the cellar.